F122 has been with us for a few weeks now, and while we're still loving the experience of the new regulation cars, the game modes themselves offer little that is new over last year's game. In our F122 review, we mentioned the lack of innovation in MyTeam in particular. While the car is different, and a few small things like new department events have been added, overall it's the same journey as last year. So what could Codemasters do to freshen up MyTeam? Well, I'm Mark from Racing Games, and I think we might just have a solution. When it was first introduced in F1 2020, MyTeam completely changed and enhanced the experience and really made the F1 series the best sports game out there. Being able to create your own team on the F1 grid, especially without the need to replace one of the existing teams, really added to the immersion you can only get from the F1 series. Since then though, the mode has slightly stagnated. Codemasters has encountered a problem of having such a well-polished single-player experience, be it career mode or MyTeam, that finding places every year to make meaningful improvements is hard. However, there is one glaring hole, and it involves the engine. We believe that MyTeam should come with the option of building your own engine. F122's MyTeam gives players the option of starting budget, but we think there should also be an option for players as to whether to enter the grid as a customer team, such as Haas, Alfa Romeo and Williams, or as a works team, such as Mercedes, Ferrari and Alpine. While it's unlikely that any team actually coming into Formula 1 would create their own engines, it is still a possibility, which is why it should be within the Formula 1 game, especially with talks of new teams entering the grid soon that may end up supplying not just themselves but other teams on the grid also. So how would all this work? Before we move on, have you subscribed to Racing Games yet? Just one click and you're on the Racing Games grid. Oh, and hit that notification bell too so you never miss an upload. Alright, on with the video. Much like the base MyTeam car, a MyTeam engine could start as the least powerful and reliable of the choices, but it would also be cheaper, or even free compared to being a customer team. It could then take the place of the powertrain facility at your team HQ, which makes no sense anyway if you're a customer team. Alfa Romeo isn't doing anything but buying Ferrari power units and putting them into the car. You shouldn't have to spend your money or resource points on power unit upgrades if you're a customer team. The game even acknowledges this to an extent, with regular powertrain upgrades added to your car as the seasons progress, yet you still have a powertrain department to manage. If you were to develop your own engines though, then the powertrain department would make sense. It would add an extra layer of detail to your MyTeam and give the chance for new options in the facility and true investment decisions. Do you push the performance of your power units to the absolute maximum but risk the blowouts we've seen from Ferrari and Red Bull this year? Or do you go for the bulletproof approach that then lacks a little extra top speed? Will you focus on the energy recovery systems or the turbo and internal combustion engine? It's a pathway with so many user-focused decisions that will have on-track impacts that it could be a huge step forward for MyTeam whilst retaining all the things that Codemasters has fine-tuned over the years. And what's the best part of it all? It's optional. You can still just be a customer team and enter F1 with a Mercedes power unit and not worry about it. Now this on its own is a pretty good idea, in our opinion at least, and this is where our article at racinggames.gg ends, but I've been doing a little thinking of my own, and I think I can take this to the next level. Let's talk about that for a moment. So building and maintaining your own engine is one thing, but engines aren't the only parts that customer teams source. Let's take Haas as an example. Since they joined F1 in 2016, Haas have had what is known as a technical partnership with Ferrari. This means not only are they supplied engines and gearboxes from Ferrari, but they also receive what are known as transferable parts. This includes parts for the suspension, along with other mechanical components required for an F1 car, but excludes any aerodynamic surfaces, the car's monocoque, and other key components that make the car go. Haas even have their own design hub at Ferrari's Maranello base, staffed by former Ferrari personnel, where they use Ferrari's wind tunnel to test new aerodynamic parts. Believe it or not, this is all perfectly legal according to the F1 regulations, but it has raised questions in the paddock. Considering none of this is a secret, it would be cool to see this reflected in the F1 game. Just like with Haas, your MyTeam could form a partnership with a works team, whereby maintenance and R&D can become cheaper. Perhaps buying suspension parts would make the chassis development cheaper, or buying from a team with better reliability would make your own reliability department easier to manage. This is obviously different to developing your own engine, but if you choose to use an existing works engine, then maybe this could become an extra possibility when deciding which engine supplier to go with. Now there will be drawbacks. When Carlos Sainz's engine blew up in Austria last weekend, all eyes turned to Charles Leclerc and his engine, but at the same time both Alfa Romeo and Haas are supplied by Ferrari, so some were also looking to see what happened with their engines. As it turns out, Kevin Magnussen also had issues with his Haas, which weren't highlighted during the race. So the risk is, if your supplier has reliability issues, so will you. It's a bit of a gamble, but considering how fast Haas look this year, it seems to be paying off so far. So the two new options would be to either develop your own engine and go the cheaper route, to an extent of course, or as well as buying an engine from a works team, also paying a little bit extra for other parts and save your valuable resource points to spend elsewhere in development. Just that one choice could add a whole new element to MyTeam that would definitely qualify as a massive change to the single player experience. I was going to go on to talk about how a parent team could then supply junior drivers to your team throughout your MyTeam career, but I think we're getting a little too far into F1 manager territory now, so I'll leave things here. What do you think? Would you like to see an option to develop your own engines in the F1 series in future, or maybe even an option to source extra parts from works teams in order to save your own resources? And if you did save money by developing your own engine, which icon driver would you then hire as your teammate? Let us know in the comments below. For now though, thanks for watching. I've been Mark from Racing Games, please like and subscribe for all things F1 22, and now I'm off to figure out just how to lay out my 6 cylinders in my F1 team's new engine. Most go for the tried and trusted V formation, but I reckon there's more to be gained by placing them like an F. What do you mean that's not possible?